So, right now in Assam, something huge is happening. The state is rolling out one of the most ambitious budgets in the country, and it's pouring billions into a whole range of welfare schemes. But behind these massive numbers is a really fascinating story about a big economic turnaround, some very clever political strategy, and of course, the lives of millions of people. So let's dive in and see what's really going on here.
And this is what it sounds like on the ground. You have a direct cash transfer scheme that's putting thousands of crores straight into the bank accounts of millions of women across the state. Now, that's a move that has a really profound human impact for sure, but it also raises a massive question.
And that big question is, how on earth can the state afford all of this? I mean, really, to get a handle on the welfare spending, we first have to look at Assam's incredible economic transformation over the last decade or so.
The sheer scale of this change is just astounding. A 250% jump in what the state spends in less than a decade? That's almost unheard of. It really points to a dramatic surge in Assam's financial muscle and its ability to fund these enormous projects.
And this isn't just money moving around on a spreadsheet. We're talking about an 8-fold increase in capital expenditure. That's the money that actually builds stuff like roads, bridges, and hospitals. To put that in perspective, it means that every single day they're paving more than 13 kilometers of roads and building almost one new bridge.
So what's the engine behind all this spending? Well, it's pretty clear. For several years in a row, Assam's economy has been growing faster than India's national average. In the last fiscal year, it grew at a blistering 19%, making it one of the absolute fastest-growing states in the country. And no surprise here, big business is definitely taking notice. A recent global investment summit pulled in over ₹500 billion in investment commitments. That tells you this isn't just some temporary boom. There's real confidence from investors that Assam is a place to build for the long haul.
So what do you do when you have all that economic power? Well, in Assam, the answer seems pretty straightforward. You channel it into a massive, multi-pronged social welfare strategy. Let's break down what that actually looks like.
Okay, this is just a quick snapshot of the government's biggest programs. You can see they're targeting a whole bunch of different groups all at once. Direct cash for vulnerable women, seed money for female entrepreneurs, financial aid to keep girls in school, support for small businesses, and even a huge push for public sector jobs.
But the real crown jewel of this whole strategy is a scheme called Orunodoi. We're talking about nearly 4 million women who are set to receive monthly cash deposits. The scale here is just immense, and its impact is right at the center of a major debate happening in the state.
And this is where we get to the heart of it. While the economic story is all about growth and big numbers, the human story is, well, a lot more complex. This Orunodoi scheme has become a real flashpoint for a fierce debate about politics, policy, and purpose. And really, the debate boils down to these two completely opposite views. Is this a compassionate, data-driven program that's designed to empower the most vulnerable women in society, or is it just a perfectly timed cash handout, a political freebie designed to lock in votes right before an election?
The government's position on this is really firm. They argue this isn't a handout at all. They say it's a targeted social safety net. They insist it's a program that comes from a place of compassion, not political calculation.
And to back that up, they point to the scheme's pretty strict eligibility rules. It's not a universal payment. To qualify, a woman has to fit into very specific, vulnerable categories, like being a widow, divorced, disabled, or having a family member with a critical illness. This, they argue, proves it's a controlled welfare measure.
But critics point to the timing, right? They see these large, lump sum payments being sent out right before elections. And that leaves the public asking this crucial question. Is this just a compassionate policy, or is it a very well-calculated political masterstroke?
When you go out on the ground, you hear different stories. For instance, this beneficiary sees the payment as a genuine gift from the chief minister, who a lot of people affectionately call Mamaji, or uncle. For her, it feels personal, not political.
But then you might talk to someone else and get a completely different take. This woman, she expresses this sense of ambiguity. She's happy to accept the money, but she admits that really only the chief minister truly knows the real reason behind it. It kind of leaves the motive as an open question.
So while this whole welfare debate is raging on, the government is already looking far, far beyond it. They're laying out this incredibly ambitious, high-tech vision for Assam's future.
And look, This isn't science fiction. These are actual projects that were announced in the budget. We're talking about using AI and drones to help with farming, building a whole tech valley for green energy, creating India's first smart city made mostly from bamboo, and even launching the state's very own satellite for data collection.
The big ambition that ties all of this together is crystal clear. The government is leveraging its economic growth to fund both today's welfare schemes and these futuristic projects. And it's all for one goal: to push Assam into the top tier of India's states.
And all of this leaves us with a final and pretty fascinating question. As Assam accelerates towards this high-tech, prosperous future, that line between social empowerment and political strategy, it's getting blurrier and blurrier. The choices being made today won't just shape the state's economy, they're going to define its social contract for generations to come.